I think the resolution that passed last week was very much so informed, more informed than what was proposed a week ago.
Okay.
It probably isn't as strong, but I think a lot of people, it's more directed. We figured out what we wanted to say and we said it. I'm more excited about the way in which the resolution came about. Students really made it happen. They emailed senators, they lobbied on behalf of what they wanted. The flash mob was really big. So I think Green Action and the students who are part of the I forget the name, the Climate Change Alliance or something like that, they really made it happen, and I think they deserve most of the credit for this. A Senate resolution, theoretically, it's the voice of the students. It's supposed to be the biggest statement that our student government can make, that the elected representatives of students can make on behalf of a certain issue. Practically, it always doesn't have that effect. Some administrators get it and they say, oh, okay, this is nice. But some administrators do get them and they actually make changes happen. That's happened in a number of instances. A couple of years ago, the campus card actually came into existence with the help of a Senate resolution. It actually pushed it through. So there are a couple of instances when that does happen. I think resolutions are important because it's a process in which everyone can get involved in. But I don't think we should just pass resolutions and think we've accomplished something. There's a lot of work that has to happen before a resolution is passed, and a lot that has to happen after a resolution is passed. It specifically calls for Will Fisher, the Executive Advisor for Sustainability, as well as a senator to meet with the group of students who lobbied for this resolution. And they're going to probably meet with the Chancellor, with Professor Axelbaum, the iCares Institute on campus. They're going to be having meetings with those individuals to talk about the feasibility of getting a name change. If we can't get a name change, then talking about at least being more upfront and transparent about what this is and who's involved. And I think that's really the key of the issue. It's not so much that, you know, it is a little bit about the name Clean Coal is misleading, but really it's about transparency, and it's the university being transparent and who it's doing business with. If it's talking about renewable energy and it's quote-unquote in bed with the coal companies, then that needs to be known, and we need a clear explanation about it. So that's what we're going to be looking for. I think Will Fisher is going to take a lead on that, and I trust him completely. I think there is concern all around, and whenever someone resigns from a position, be it for personal reasons like has been the case, or because they express frustration with the job, there's always some degree of concern. And we have been looking internally at ourselves and trying to figure out what we can do to the structure to make the organization more efficient, make it more attractive to students who haven't been in since their freshman year, the outsiders as they're called sometimes. So we've been looking at a number of things internally to make the organization better. I do want to stress that didn't just happen when people started resigning. That's been something we've been doing since we took office, because I think it's important to always challenge ourselves and try to be better. But the fact that people have resigned makes us look at that even harder, and we've done some things to try to correct that structure, and I think over the next couple of months we're going to see some more things come out. We did a couple of election reforms, and some of those were on the Senate election ballot. They weren't as far-reaching as were initially proposed, and in some ways I do think that was a little unfortunate, because I think we had a real opportunity to make some aggressive changes. But going forward, I think what we're going to do is really think about this in a strategic fashion. Not just, you know, say one person resigned, what were their concerns, and change the structure, but let's and I said let's have this thought experiment before. Let's get Greek life in the room. Let's get people who don't know anything about student union. Let's get, you know, different constituencies on campus, and let's start from scratch. Let's say, what's the ideal student government? Let's have this thought experiment. And then once we do that, we compare that to what we have now. In some ways it'll be similar, I think, because I think we do have some good processes. But in some ways I think it'll be different. And then we can have real conversations about, is this difference important? And if so, how do we reconcile? How do we get to this ideal, or, you know, this ideal is unrealistic, why, and how do we accept that? So I think those are going to be things that are happening second semester that people can look forward to. But I also do want to stress on top of that, while having these different types of processes is important, I don't want us to get trapped in trying to fix internal issues so much that we don't do things for the 6,000 undergraduate students. And it's important to have an efficient organization, but if behind the scenes we're all, going crazy and we don't know what's going on, but things happen for students, then to me that's more important. Right now, I think the university is at a stage where they're trying to figure out how this is going to go, and I think there's an attitude sometimes that if it doesn't affect students, they don't need to know about it. They don't need to be in the process, which is understandable. When you talk about faculty compensation, I don't really have much of an opinion on it. But the real question is, who determines what affects students? Who determines what students care about? I think a lot of people may say that the Center for Ethics and Human Values didn't matter to students, but I think a lot of other people say that it does. So who's making that call? Who's going to say that this is an issue that matters to students and therefore we should consult students? And so I had a meeting with Rob just to sort of say this is something that students are going to want to know about. They're going to want to be in the process. We don't just want to be communicated to. We want to be along for the ride. And we understand that these decisions are complex, but even if it's being at the table and saying, okay, we can cut this or we can cut this. What do you prefer? And to be able to voice that preference, and maybe it'll make a difference, maybe it doesn't, but I think having that part in the process is important because I don't want this to be something like the tobacco ban decision where it comes out and people are like, whoa, where did this come from? And another thing Rob and I talked about was just communication. And right now there are no plans for mass communication about any cuts, which I think may be a bit of a concern. Practical steps that we're going to take to address this is invite the team of people that are going to be deciding the ultimate budget cuts to come to a Senate meeting early spring semester before the cuts happen, so students can ask questions, they can make a presentation about what they think is appropriate, and we can ask more probing questions. So I think that's a good first step, and we'll take it from there. We've got a lot of things coming up. This month is really, over-programming is really bad on this campus. We had two of the biggest events of the year, Dance Marathon and Diwali, happened last weekend, and this weekend that is ending now. The number of events that happened, I can go on and on naming them, and there were at least 3 weeks. You had Pluralism Week, Feminism Awareness, and Hip Hop for Hunger Week. So I think over-programming is a real problem on this campus. We passed a resolution about dining hours. Dining has decided to implement that, the pilot program that we suggested in full. So we're really excited about that, a practical change that I think a lot of students, hundreds of whom live on the north side, are going to benefit from. Another thing is that Student Union talks a lot about activism. A lot of people will say, well, dining lines isn't activism. And I think people that sort of give out that criticism haven't read our plan or haven't been listening to what we've been saying. In the plan it says, the initiatives we targeted in and of themselves aren't activism. But the concept of activism is about mobilizing and organizing. Activism is sort of a method in which you bring about change. Activism is not a specific set of issues. And one thing we've been talking about for a couple weeks, and we have officially decided to do, and we'll announce in a more formal fashion in the coming weeks, is to start a system of grants for student initiatives with money from the student activity fee. So we're excited about this because students, the student activity fee goes to student groups to put on great programs, but there are a number of students who aren't in a student group or don't go to many campus events who don't really benefit from their activities fee. And it's specifically targeted to non-SU groups. It's targeted for students who have good ideas and need money to implement them. So next semester we're going to start specifically calling for certain types of proposals. One of them may be, a grant to increase school spirit around basketball games. And if students can submit proposals, and we'll have a certain dollar amount attached to them, and we'll give them money and see what they can come up with.